It's Chris and Company with Sacramento's Chris Watkins
on Sacktown Sports.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to Chris and Company, coming to you on this. It's Wednesday, right? Wednesday morning. Kings play the Blazers tonight, up in Portland. And for those watching on the YouTube right now, you can check us out at youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140. You can see that we have a guest on today. Chris and Co. has a co today. My guy, Brenden Nunes of the Kings Pulse podcast, Kings Herald as well. You can read his stuff over there. Also just is all over the place, man. Was on ABC 10 the other day doing a nice little segment with our guys, Kevin, John, and Matt George over there. Brenden, how you doing? Thanks for joining me, man. How about that game last night?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me. Quite a second half from the Warriors.
Yeah. And
I'd imagine that within the last couple of days, Kings fans are watching different games a lot more closely than they have all year long. And quite a way for Golden State to come back when they needed to lose from Sacramento's perspective.
It was very it's just a very Kings experience, watching these other teams try and clinch a spot for us. It's very fitting that of course nobody wants to do us any favors at any point. And the game last night, Warriors pull one out. They looked down bad in that first half. I don't know how much of the game you watched, but there was a weird moment with Draymond Green where he kind of kicked the head twice of Trey Murphy III, and kind of, Draymond did his Draymond thing and kind of got super emotional, got kind of riled up. Steve Kerr had to take him out, which led to a viral clip, which I definitely suggest everybody go watch, where Draymond is like, he's talking with Herb Jones and he's trying to like get under Herb Jones's skin, and Herb Jones is looking at the sideline and he's like, bro, they're about to sub you out, so you should probably shut up. And Draymond gets furious at Steve Kerr. Great moment, but it kind of did spark a Warriors second half comeback. They were down 17 heading into the half, start the third quarter on an 8-0 run, and then by the end of the third, Steph Curry goes crazy, scores 13 points in the last 5 minutes of that third quarter, and by the end of the game, the Warriors are comfortably winning by about 14. So, what did it end up being? It was I don't have the score in front of me.
Around there.
Yeah, they won by double digits. Outscore the Pelicans 77-44 in that second half. Of course, again, when the Kings need the Warriors to lose a game, they have that kind of performance. Do you have any lingering thoughts about last night's game?
That Dante DiVincenzo refuses to do them any favors. He actually came out of that second half. He had that putback. Yes. I think he hit a triple, and then he had a big assist. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, not to be that guy, but the Kings could really use Dante DiVincenzo. And then I don't feel like it's been very often this year you see like classic Splash Brothers moments.
Last night was it.
It was very much so. Yeah. Like Steph has been that guy this year when he's been healthy. Yeah. I think Steph is going to make an All-NBA team. Clay is a phenomenal catch and shoot shooter, obviously, but like, when's the last time you've seen him just totally catch fire? And both of that to happen in the same game. Yeah, it was like, oh man, this is what this team is. Mm-hmm. And they got Jordan Poole going in that fourth quarter.
Right.
It's one of those things where it's like, who's starting that team?
They're at their full power, and it's like, you can, especially then they're at home as well. You feel that home crowd. They feed off of it. It really is their superpower. Like when they can turn things on, that's a perfect example of that. Look, I could see the Timberwolves last night, or was it Timberwolves? The Pelicans. I'm sorry, the Pelicans last night. I could totally see the Kings in that position exactly, where it's just like, oh yeah, we feel like we have them, and then they turn it on. That's exactly why you have to be afraid of them in a playoff series.
I feel like we've seen it happen earlier this year. Maybe it was actually the first half they put up like 70 plus against the Kings, and then the Kings end up like start to rally and come back, but never really felt like they had too much of a chance.
I think it was 90. If I'm
I'm probably being a little kind there. Yeah, it was a ridiculous number. But I mean, Sacramento's defense is horrible.
Yeah,
I do think that they would keep up a little bit more offensively.
Sure, yeah.
But
yeah, because the Pelicans did go cold last night.
But you can't always hit shots. Sometimes you are going to go cold on offense. It's just the nature of it, even when you're the best offense of all time.
Yeah, I know you're a big Dante guy. I did watch a lot of Dante yesterday and think like, I forgot how good of a rebounder is. I mean, he would crash the glass sometimes last year, like his life depended on it. He really is kind of like a Josh Hart with bad PR, like Josh Hart we saw kill us earlier this year. Dante does some of the same stuff where he just flies in on rebounds. And when you get that from a guard position, a guy who can get 9 to 10 rebounds from a guard position, it's huge. And honestly, Steph is a great rebounder too. So, that's kind of where the Warriors get their money. Draymond after the game, I love this, said, it takes a real one to talk when you're down 20, which is just the most Draymond quote
facts,
ever.
though,
It
facts.
is facts because they were definitely down 20, no signs of coming back, and Draymond decided now was the time to start talking. So that's very Draymond. Let's get into a little bit of Kings talk. Tonight they have a really good possibility of actually clinching that playoff spot. Of course, if they want to actually clinch, they kind of we should feel like they need to do it themselves and not rely on other guys. But if they can get some help from the Clippers tonight as well. What with the season kind of coming down, there's 7 games left for the Kings this season. What is there really to what are you paying attention to the last part of the season once they clinch a spot?
Probably if they can show longer stretches of good defense. I feel like it's kind of the same stuff, right? Like Kessler Edwards is one specific aspect to me that I am kind of keeping tabs on. He played a little bit in that most recent game and then in the first half and then didn't see much run in the second. Like, I'm not sure that he's a part of the playoff rotation. And I think that he's kind of just getting tested right now to see if he will be. So that's one specific guy that I'm kind of watching. And then the backup 5. Like it was Alex Len. It was Alex Len against Minnesota Timberwolves. When's the last time we've seen Alex Len? He got up off the bench and we're like, okay.
Yeah.
They also were getting killed on the glass. And Minnesota has good size, although Len was against Naz Reid, which is kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
But we saw in the previous game, Mezzi played 2.5 minutes before he got pulled.
For Rashawn.
And then did not play again. Yeah, and then Rashawn went out there, missed 3 shots, gave up some offensive rebounds, didn't play again.
Yep.
And then they went to Trey Lyles with the back of 5, which, as a fellow Trey Bay, I guess that we've been saying, like, Trey at the back of 5 seems to make the most sense. But they don't seem to fully agree. I think that in my mind, it's committing too much to like screw defense and we're just going to outscore you. And I think that like coach does not want to do that. And I can't really blame him.
Right. That's it. It's in his identity. Mike Brown is a defensive coach, which I do feel like has kind of been lost with this whole ridiculously great offensive season. But Mike does seem to really hold on to some of those defensive principles at all times. But I thought, you mentioned Kessler didn't get a second half run at all. I thought it was interesting because it was clear, and you made a point that Kevin Huerter was kind of getting, singled out a little bit defensively by Minnesota, and he kind of stuck with Kevin and then ended up going to Malik in that fourth quarter, who Malik Monk also isn't necessarily a lockdown defender at any point of his life, and he also didn't have it going offensively. So I did think that's interesting, and I really do think that this is kind of going to be Kessler Edwards's playground, if you will, to try and see if he can get in that playoff rotation minute, because he's really the only guy that I feel like can maybe slip into like a solidified rotation. I think at the moment TD's probably like on that fringe of if the game calls for it and Mike feels it, maybe TD will get in, but I don't think he'll get consistent minutes.
Meaning if other guys aren't doing their job. It seems to kind of be the trend with Mike, where it's like, all right, I'm sick of this guy. He's not getting it done.
Right.
Let's go to somebody else.
Yep, exactly.
And search, the word you just use, like we've seen so many times this year. And Mike has used that word that he's been searching at different times this year. And you can just tell so blatantly when he's searching, man. That game where he pulls Mezzi, goes to Rashawn, and then ends up with,
and it's usually early too. He doesn't waste time. He doesn't let you kind of play through it.
That game against Utah, didn't we see Matthew Dellavedova and Keon Ellis checking the
game? Yes,
we
did. Yeah, and I mean earlier this season we saw Chima Monecki get early run. If we want to really take it back, like
I really don't think that's like these guys are the answer. I think it's more so proving a point to the other guys and having that
I'm willing to look for anybody. I'm just looking. I mean, and coach, it's kind of coach speak, but coaches say it all the time. I don't care if your name is De'Aaron Fox. Like, I want guys out there that are going to do X principle. Like, I'm looking for a guy who's going to, give it all defensively, which is usually what it is. If you're not defending, I will take you out. I don't care if you're Domas. I don't care if you're Fox. But Mike Brown does really stick to his guns in that sense, where it does feel like if he doesn't like what you're doing, he's not afraid to take you out at any moment of the game. 75 games in here. We got 7 games left in the season. Like, how do you feel like you know what to expect from this team on a nightly basis, or do you think that there's anything that they can maybe try and fix or patch up or add to them these last 7 games?
I feel like you do know what to expect, but almost that you expect to not know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
Like the wording I've used all year, and I don't feel any different, is they're good enough they can win any game on offense.
Yes,
they're bad enough on defense they can lose any game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I feel going into every single night.
Yeah.
That's how I feel going into the postseason, that they're good enough that they could beat Denver in a series.
Yeah.
They're bad enough that they could get
swept.
Beat by OKC in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and OKC's maybe not a great example with no big.
Yeah.
But that's how I felt about the team all year, and I don't think that's really changed.
Yeah.
Like, coach has tried to say that they've played enough consistent defense, or he's seen long enough stretches against the right teams, right? When I tried to ask him about this the other day, like, where does your optimism come from that this team actually can play defense long enough? You know, well, we've done it for long enough stretches against good enough teams. What is he supposed to say, though? Right? He's not going to go up there and be like,
I just believe.
I have to believe. Faith. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know, but they've been really, really bad defensively, and we've seen many games of it. That first half against Utah was really bad. That first half against Phoenix was really bad. Like, I actually feel like we've seen some of the worst defense we've seen from this team in
I agree.
In a while.
Jock Londale would also agree.
Yes.
Walker Kessler
Which, by the way,
agree.
Funny moment the other day in shoot around. Shane, who warms up DeMontis Sabonis, right, and does one-on-one. Doug was passing him the ball, and Doug is kind of talking some crap as he does, right?
Yeah.
And Doug's saying, yeah, you can't lock him down. You can't lock him down to Shane. And Shane's like, yeah, I'm no Jock Londale. I thought it was such a good moment. This is the day after the Phoenix game.
That is so
It was so funny.
How did Domas react?
Domas just didn't even. He just kept going about his business.
I was wondering if he maybe got more upset.
It was so funny.
That's hilarious. Yeah, this team, I completely agree with you. I think a lot of people have tried to talk themselves into the fact that maybe, this team can maybe take that extra leap. And when I say leap, I mean from, really bad to passable. But I agree with you. I just don't think that I've seen it for any stretch of time that makes me feel like, oh yeah, these guys, these guys have proven for a certain stretch of time that they can do this. I actually looked it up. The Kings are 2-13 this season when they score under 110 points. So they, if they're not, their defense right now is their incredible offense. And it's really kind of that cut and dry to me. I don't think that they really, I think their only hope defensively is just outscoring people. And it's not a recipe generally for postseason success, but I mean, this team has won 45 plus games this season doing just that.
I keep going back to Atlanta last year and the year prior. I think they've always been a team that is completely carried by their offense and just tries to do enough to get by defensively. Last year, that means getting swept or a gentleman's sweep. They win one game against the Miami Heat. The year before that means getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. And it's just about who you happen to match up with. And I think that we're talking about like the same sort of variance or range of possibilities with this Kings team. And obviously, there's changes that were made to Atlanta from year to year, but that's like a comparison that stood out to me.
I really like that. Coming up next, we're going to talk about our season awards. Who is Brenden Nunes' Kings MVP on the season? We find out next right here on Chris and Company, Sacktown Sports 1140 and SacktownSports.com.
The only place you'll find Malik Monk is Sacktown Sports.
Oh my, what an athletic move that time by Malik Monk.
Hey Sacramento, it's Malik Monk and you're listening to the home of the Sacramento Kings, Sacktown Sports.
Your local sports leader.
If the sticker price markups that new car dealers are demanding are scaring you away from a brand new vehicle, you can still get the vehicle you want and save thousands at M&S Auto on El Camino right off the Cap City Freeway. M&S Auto has literally hundreds of gently used but beautiful Silverados, Rams, and Tacomas. And if you love muscle cars, they've got Challengers and Mustangs too. M&S Auto Sales. Great cars and trucks and fair deals every day. Come and get yours. msautogroup.com.
ATM Mortgage.
Hi, this is Jeff Charbel, and for 30 years I've been helping Northern California homeowners and home buyers achieve their goals. When everyone else has gone silent, we're still here to help. You can reach us today, 916-338-9400, 338-9400, or online at atmmortgage.net.
ATM Mortgage.
License under California CFL and MLS 223-4889.
Live and local, it's Chris and Company with Chris Watkins on Sacktown Sports.
Chris and Company, Brenden Nunes joining us for the hour. My dude. What is this? Is this like your third year covering the team, right? Third or fourth year? Second?
This is year 2 of being credentialed. Last year was the start. Yeah.
Oh, I guess so. Right. I
probably 8 or so games in. I covered a couple games of Luke before he was done.
And before the puke incident.
Yeah. Before the puke night, which was quite an incident.
Yeah.
And then Alvin, and then into this year.
So, I mean, I guess winning could be the answer, but what's really the biggest difference for you in terms of last year and this year in terms of just covering the team? Winning is kind of the big one, right?
Yeah, from my perspective, rather than like, why is the team better?
Yeah,
but more
exactly. From your perspective, just covering the team.
Well, there were a lot of times last year where they just got their butts kicked.
Yeah.
Like that game in Boston specifically, they got beat by like 53. And I just remember going into postgame being like, man, I don't know what to ask right now.
Yeah.
Because like I like to focus on X's and O's and more like detail specific questions.
Yeah.
And you go into that and it's like, you just got to ask and make sure that these guys are okay, I guess. Like you got to ask more general mindset stuff.
Yeah, exactly. How do you keep going?
Right. That's just not where my interest is peaked, I guess. Yeah. So I think that being able to ask more of those specific questions and not feel bad about it, because there were 5 different issues last year every game because they were losing by 30,
right?
And it's like, now I think that you see the development of this team. They're adding more layers to their offense. You can ask about that. They're trying to mix in zone defense and things like that. So I think you're like seeing the team slowly get better, which makes it a lot easier to ask about some of those more specifics rather than, oh man, you guys are totally off the rails right now. Like, how do you not fall apart?
And it's always like an awkward room too, obviously, after they lose. It's kind of like, especially, when you lose 30, 40, sometimes 50 times in a season, it kind of gets awkward asking the same, like, what went wrong tonight? And the guys clearly don't want to be out there. And it's just, sometimes they'll send out Harrison as the sacrificial lamb, kind of like they did the other night. It's definitely just a different vibe. And like, it is, especially, just from the media side, it's a little easier to get your questions off when they're not, when you don't feel like the person you're asking is borderline depressed because they just lost by 30 again.
Right. And there was like weird specific energy with guys. Like you could tell guys didn't really want to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I was going to withhold names, but we all know it's Buddy Hield and Marvin Bagley. The guys that did not clearly did not want to be there
in the situation in Sacramento. Right. And they especially didn't want to be answering questions about why they suck.
And I don't really blame them for not wanting to be in Sac. It was a total mess. I don't think they did themselves any favors, obviously.
Definitely.
But I think that when you're approaching those type of guys that clearly are kind of waiting to be out or seem unhappy, even the Dante thing became awkward at the end of the year.
Really awkward, right? Because of the whole contract situation.
Not starting him. Very weird. Starting Justin Holiday. Yeah. It's like, okay.
Really strange.
Who in their right mind is really starting Justin Holiday?
Also, God bless Alvin, but Alvin's kind of got made like the most substitute teacher vibes I've ever seen in my life.
Absolutely. And there was that weird complication of like, is Alvin going to be the head coach? Are they possibly going to do Doug Christie? It seemed like Alvin wanted to stick around for years longer. So there was a lot of just complicated storylines last year. Right. And now I feel like I can comfortably more so focus on the basketball side.
Right. That's well, let's talk about the basketball side a little bit. We're going to give out our season awards here. I figured, 7 games left. I don't know if you'll be on before the playoffs. That would be a great time. You're the perfect person to do this with. So let's do our Kings season awards. We have best moment, biggest surprise of the season, favorite off-court storyline or moment, the best win of the season, the worst loss of the season. And then finally, we will do our MVK, the most valuable King. let's start off with the best moment of the season. Also, if you're in the YouTube chat right now, feel free to answer along as we're going down this list, and we'll definitely shout out some of the better answers, especially if we forgot something. Let's start off with best moment. I have a couple options here. You can feel free to go off the board if something sticks out, and also if you want to get creative and say something off the court or anything, feel free to take it however you will. Best moment, I have De'Aaron Fox game winner against Orlando or Chicago the other day as well. The I'm nice, if you will. The Herter shot against Utah, which has kind of been played as really the moment where Golden One Center popped the most this year when he hit the go-ahead bucket over Utah earlier at home this year. And I also have the Mike Brown screaming at Media Day, where we all know that soundbite and love it at this point. And that was how we started off the season. What was your best moment?
I do definitely want to give a shout out to the 7-game win streak, because when it was 0-4, it was like, oh man.
Yeah, that's right. They did go 0-4, and then they went straight seven in a row after that. Yeah.
And that was like they're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so definitely shout out to that moment. And I think my answer is that Kevin Herter shot against Utah, because that was probably the loudest we've heard Golden One. And there's been loud moments. There's definitely been comparable ones, but we've heard the players say that I think that's the loudest moment I've heard. Also heard De'Aaron Fox say that, like, or maybe it was Kevin Herter. I did forget exactly who it was. One of the starters had mentioned that in their mind was the moment, like, oh, we're good.
That's what I was going to say. It did feel like that was kind of like, it's kind of a symbolic moment. Like, it does feel like since that moment there haven't, the 0-4 was probably, as funny as it is, the low point of the season. Like you're saying, people were wondering, like, oh, is this going to be another lost season? Is this going to be really bad? And then for them to, I'm pretty sure that shot came within that 7-game win streak, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. It might have been a little bit later in the season, but that was early enough in the season where it was kind of like, that was Kevin's first big moment. It was one of those moments also where it kind of felt like, oh, this is the team. Like, these are the guys that are going to take us there, because it was, I'm not mistaken, it was either a Keegan or a Domas offensive rebound. They kick it out to De'Aaron, who then kicks it out to Kevin for
they got
three.
2 offensive rebounds on that possession.
Yes, exactly. It was just a really cool play, like, leading up to it, and then for it to have the payoff. I feel like me and Frankie used to always joke that the Kings were always 0 for everything, in terms of, you can feel the crowd, like when the shot gets put up, you can feel everybody's excitement go up, and then it felt like they would just never ever make those shots. So for it to go in, that was just a huge moment.
That was probably my one. And it's funny, as you say, the whole, like, you could feel the crowd getting ready and the shot doesn't go down. Like, may have happened last game against Minnesota.
Yeah. Well, Keegan had it,
but they shouldn't have got to that point in the first place. Yeah. I do think it's the Kevin Herter shot for me, and then there's too many to pick. Like, just De'Aaron Fox's clutch moments.
Yeah,
there's nothing quite like going into the last couple minutes of a game and just knowing that, like, just give him the ball and get out the way.
Right.
And then watching him go to work, and his mid-range being automatic, his finishing being ridiculous. This is probably about 5 games ago I had checked. He's finishing better at the rim than Giannis, Joel Embiid, and LeBron James.
Yeah.
On much lower volume, obviously, which is a big caveat there. But, like, watching De'Aaron Fox take over fourth quarters of games is definitely up there.
Yeah, I think I would probably go with that Orlando shot, just because of how improbable it was, but also just,
and it's a shot. It's not a heave.
Yes,
it's a
the
shot.
Confidence that he pulled up with. He spotted up. He looked at the spot and he was like, "This is the shot I'm taking. Like, I'm taking this half court shot for the win, and I feel good about it." And he did. He felt great about it from the moment it left his hands, and for it to be money, like, that is not, I mean, there's, we remember Tyreek at the horn and shots like that. That kind of thing just doesn't happen for the Kings. The Kings don't have that kind of player. And that too also kind of set the wheels in motion for this De'Aaron Fox Clutch Player of the Year campaign that we see now. Like, that was kind of the launch point of, okay, this guy has came up in big moments for us in the past, and here he is now, kind of with a real exclamation point of an actual game winner buzzer beater as well. Like, it was just such a cool moment. I think just the shot itself gives me the best moment of the season for De'Aaron Fox there.
I agree. I'm trying to think if there's any other standouts.
I mean, the Chicago shot was great.
The Chicago shot was great. I did kind of
He had the
enjoy
Utah game-winning layup as well.
Yes, and that one was a double team was coming, and then he just ran past those guys and got an easy righty layup, kind of snuck it in there. I think that there was a stretch where Malik Monk was totally balling, and I think that that Clippers game has got to be up there too, but I know that
sure
we're going to get to best win here too. So
okay, we'll get there when we get there. We'll continue this after the break here. You're listening to Chris and Company on Sacktown Sports 1140 and SacktownSports.com.
Check out the Golf to Go Hour with Frank LaRosa every week on Sacktown Sports. Get the latest on equipment, area courses, people who play the great game, and plenty of good conversations about golf. It's the Golf to Go Hour every week with Frank LaRosa on Sacktown Sports. Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop, America's most awarded golf facility. Nature Wood Home Furnishings, where it's all about choices and always about quality.
Individual rates, coverage offerings, and savings may vary, subject to terms and conditions, not available in all areas. Hey, small business owner, when's the last time you checked your workers' comp rate? For many small businesses, workers' comp insurance is one of their biggest costs. But some don't check their rate often. Did you know rates can vary? In fact, taking 3 minutes to check your rate with Pi Insurance could save you up to 30%. Just go to trypi.com, share a few details about your business, and get a quote that's customized for you with no hassle or hidden fees. We know you're busy, but spending just a few minutes to check your rate could save you money. Plus, when you sign up for pay-as-you-go billing, your premium is based on your actual payroll, not an estimate. So your workers' comp audit experience is simplified. See how much you could save with Pi Insurance. Ask your agent for Pi or get a quote at trypi.com. That's TRYPIE.com.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new place. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hi, I'm Mario, owner of Attic Man Heating and Air Conditioning. We are experiencing beautiful weather in Sacramento, which means this is the best time of year to complete any of that HVAC work you've been meaning to get done. Attic Man Heating and Air is a trained dealer. At Attic Man, we're currently offering over $6,000 in rebates for new HVAC systems, and the best deals of the year are happening right now. Visit our 5-star Yelp page or book online at atticmanhvac.com. That's atticmanhvac.com.
Founded in Northern Ireland, PRG has grown from humble beginnings to become the top brand in custom golf accessories for most of the world's top 100 golf courses. PRG offers original designs as well as Arnold Palmer, Folds of Honor, collegiate license, and Major League Baseball product designs. PRG is the official supplier of the Ryder Cup. PRG is available at major golf shops, or PRG makes it easy to purchase directly for your individual use at prg-golf.com. prg-golf.com.
There's really nothing better than hitting the open road in a new Honda. And at Northern California's #1 Honda dealer, Stockton Honda, we are proud to provide our best selection to get you there. Buying from Stockton Honda couldn't be smoother. Wherever the road you travel might lead, Stockton Honda is happy to get you there.
Anytime, anywhere, it's all here. StocktonHonda.com.
Based on 2022 total new and Honda certified pre-owned vehicle car sales from American Honda Motor Company's own report.
Sacktown Sports Headlines.
I'm Chris Rillard with your Sacktown Sports Headlines. Kings' magic number is still 1, and they look to clinch their first playoff berth since 2006. The Kings can clinch a spot with a win against the Trailblazers tonight, or a loss by either the Minnesota Timberwolves or the Los Angeles Clippers. You can listen to tonight's game with game night at 5:30 and tip-off schedule for 7. Right here on Sacktown Sports. Kings rookie Keegan Murray is also looking to make history tonight. Keegan Murray is just 3 3-pointers away from breaking the rookie record for threes made in a season by Donovan Mitchell, set in 2018. It is 10:30, time to check out Coastside Medical Clinic, who's dedicated to providing breakthrough remedies for men. Now more with Chris and Company with our guest, Brenden Nunes.
It's roll call time.
Roll call.
Where are you watching the show? At home? At work? In Sacramento? In another country? Chris and Company shouts you out now.
Hanging out with Brenden Nunes of the Kings Pulse podcast for the rest of the show. We're in the middle of giving out our season awards for the Sacramento Kings this season. Just went over the best moment of the season. If you didn't get to hear it, you can check us out later on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140, where you can check out all archived episodes of all the programs here. And you can also hop in the YouTube chat. And like the voice guy just said, put in the comments where you're watching from, what device you're watching from. Are you watching at work? You watching at home? Sacramento, Oakland, again, Australia, smart fridge. That's Verla brought that up like when we first started doing this. Of if someone watches on a smart fridge, that's how we know we've made it. If you can,
there might be one.
That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah.
I'm just asking for one. And if we can get Australia on top of that, because that's like that's
a smart fridge in Australia.
That's what I'm looking for. That is how we know. That's when the show can officially end.
The smart fridge is based off of that one. I think it was a little girl that had all of her electronics taken from her, and she started tweeting out from different devices saying, "I don't know. Can you see this? Can you see this?" And one was a smart fridge.
What was a smart fridge? I didn't know.
Oh, you haven't heard that story?
No, I had not heard that.
Oh, yeah. She was like on her Nintendo DS, like tweeting out everything.
Oh, no, I'd not. I'd never heard that. I just thought, I don't know. I'd never seen a smart fridge before. I assumed that there was apps and you can watch YouTube, and I don't know.
I thought the same.
I just assumed. Let's go over the biggest surprise of the season. This was the one when I was filling this out. This is like two truths and a lie, except they're all lies. Like, I would not believe any of these things to be true, especially if you would have told me 6 months ago. Biggest surprise of the season, Brenden. Kings have the best offense in NBA history. Kings get a top 3 seed in the Western Conference. Kings get 2 All-Stars.
You could pick any of the first 2. Like, both of those are ridiculous to me. 2 All-Stars, I think, is the most, like, preseason. I would have thought that is the most realistic.
Yeah, for sure.
And that would have meant, obviously, that they're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a top 3 seed in the West to me, though. That's ridiculous. Yeah. And they've held on to it for months.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and obviously that has to do with having the best offense in NBA history, which, like, every time I say those words, it's like, what?
But at least that kind of like, Denver's the number 2 offense at NBA.
Right.
Like there's
It's
some like
period.
It makes exactly. It's a time period. It's kind of inflation,
last year. I think the record was Brooklyn last year.
Yes.
For
I think
for
it was
reference.
No, I think it was 2 years ago, 2020, 21
Okay.
Brooklyn. Yeah.
Right. When they had their trio for a little bit there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that it's got to be being the 3 seed in the West, man. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. It does have something to do with the rest of the West not being necessarily on their A game, but Sacramento has absolutely taken advantage of that.
Yeah.
I think that they've clicked a lot faster than anyone would have expected. I think even the guys on the team and the coaching staff, like, of course they're going to say, like, well, we wanted to be here, but like,
no,
I'm sure you were a little bit surprised when you realized, like, oh wow, we can do this right now.
Yeah.
And I definitely was like top 3, and to hold on to top 3 for as long as they have, they're practically locked into it at this point. They were sitting at 2 for a little while there, like a week or two.
A week or two. Yep.
That's got to be it for me. When I came into the year, remember filling out my Western Conference standings predictions, being like, man,
are they
Sacramento 10 or is Portland 10? I really don't know.
Yep.
And I'm like, I guess I'll put them at 10. They've been at 3 for months.
You're completely right. That is the answer. The best offense in NBA history is insane just to say that sentence. But yeah, like I mentioned, when you account for inflation and just how crazy the numbers are, it doesn't make sense though that the Kings are the best offense in NBA history, especially considering where they were sitting last year. It's not like there was really precedent for them to, cookie crumbles along the way that led to this offense. But for them to be the number 3, it just doesn't make sense. Again, like, even if you were in your wildest dreams to say, okay, the Kings finally break this playoff drought, how's it going to happen? You wouldn't have said, like, there's just an order of operations that this thing typically goes. You know, you got to get, exactly. You got to make the play and maybe get a 7, a 6, maybe a 5 seed at best. But we're talking a top 3 seed in the Western Conference, like, and yeah, you mentioned that the Western Conference isn't on their A game, but there's still it's still loaded with talent. And it's not necessarily that you look at the Western Conference, the bottom of the West, it's not that it's bad or it's not talent. It's full of talent. There's just as scary teams at the bottom of the West as there is in the middle and even at the top. I think that it's going to be a really, really difficult Western Conference this year, but I completely agree with you that them getting a top 3 seed, it's the situation where they're at right now.
I don't think anybody could have reasonably predicted it.
Yeah.
Like, I tried
you
to
could
be
have
like,
maybe
what is the
predicted
best case
some of those,
scenario
yeah.
going into the year? And I'm like, probably what Minnesota did last year.
Right.
I think they were the 6th seed.
Mhm.
They went 7 games against Memphis.
7 seed because they did the play-in last year.
Did they do
right?
the play-in?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because
well,
that's when Beverly got on
that's
the
right.
scores
That's
table.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Classic.
Can't
moment.
forget.
Classic moment. That they win that, and then they take the Memphis team 2 seed.
They did,
to an
right.
extremely
Mhm.
competitive 7-game series. And I thought that there was a chance they could have got out of that
Mhm.
going into game 7. So I thought that was best case scenario.
Right. Was a competitive
strong.
playoff series potentially was the best case scenario. And here we are sitting at the number 3 seed. Favorite
Can
off.
I
go
shout
ahead.
one other one?
Yes,
that's
please.
not as positive,
Absolutely.
but also
Biggest
a big
surprise of the
surprise to
season
me.
off the board.
Rashawn Holmes just being completely unplayable.
That's a great one.
That shocked me.
Yeah.
Like, I was a big fan of Rashawn Holmes' game
Mhm.
last year. I thought that he was ridiculously efficient.
Yep.
I remember going through centers list and being like, this guy's a top 15 center in the
Yep.
league. And it sounds insane, but after 8, there's just a massive grouping.
Yeah.
Right. And him becoming completely unplayable,
Right.
I think is like a shout for biggest surprise. to
Right.
me.
You're completely right too, because the Rashawn situation heading out of last year was complicated, but you figured coming into this year that they would try and reintegrate him into the rotation, even if it's just to kind of get his trade value up, get his confidence back up, and maybe he could be a piece, or maybe, like I kind of mentioned, you can ship him off at the trade deadline. But for him to be getting DNP CDs, I don't even know how many games Rashawn has even played this year. If I had to guess, it's under 10, under 15
He
for
checked in
sure.
the other game, and we were like, you see him going to the scorer's table, and it's like, oh,
I
he's
have
playing.
Yeah, I've noticed that Rashawn is at the point now where he, and I only know this because I used to have locks, but he has his hair down during the game. And I'm like, oh, you're not planning to play today.
Right.
And the other day when he checked in, I noticed he kind of like hastily put his hair up. And I was like, yeah, because you were not anticipating getting in. So yeah, Rashawn has reached that point this season where he knows he's not getting in. He's, to his credit, from at least from everything we've seen, has been pretty professional about it all and has been supportive of his team. But yeah, for him to just not be in the rotation at all, I think is a big surprise. I definitely think that that's a good shout for sure. Favorite off the court storyline, there's been a couple. G-Man's 3,000th game, that was awesome. Just the lead up to that, to see him get the DPOG chain and get to break down the huddle was awesome after the game. Mike Brown making us laugh all year, the scream, the putting his foot on the table, Malik Monk. You've been through it all with Mike. You've seen just about every press conference. There's too many funny moments to even mention. And then the defensive player of the game chain, or the success of the beam. Which would you say is your favorite off the court storyline or moment?
I think that anything involving Malik Monk is always going to be a great moment.
Yeah.
Like, whether he's just messing around with somebody at the end of a practice or shoot around and really arguing with someone that, like, nah, that was a swish. I won this game of free throw golf, right? His back and forth with De'Aaron, I think, are hilarious. You're going to hate me for this answer. I think it's when Coach walked media through
Brenden,
their offense and defense at the end of preseason. That was a moment for me. I loved that. I'm sorry to do this to you, Chris, but anybody unaware, Coach walked media that was there through their offensive and defensive sets after the final game of preseason, and getting walked through sets by an NBA coach was a very cool moment. I love you, Chris. I don't mean to do that to you.
That was probably the only day that week that I missed practice. And of course, it was the day that Mike decided to walk everybody through practice. So I have not lived that down. It would have been probably a top 2 to 3 moment of my life, and it would not be 2 or 3.
Next year.
Next year, right? There's always next
I really
year.
think he'll do it again.
I think he'll do it again. Maybe he'll do it before playoffs. Maybe they're installing some new stuff, and he's like, I really, really want you guys to be educated about what you're talking about. But there's also some other stuff that we still talk about to this day from that practice. So a lot of funny stuff I know happened during that practice that will stay off air and will stay for us to laugh at. But that is honestly a great answer, especially if I would have been there. That probably would have been on my list too. I'm going to go with the success of the beam just because of how, obviously the beam is massive. It's kind of unexpected. The beam itself was unexpected. Nobody knew it was coming, but I just didn't think that it would catch on the way that it did. I thought it was definitely a cool thing, but I wasn't sure if, everyone would embrace it and it would be, a lot of times, especially when sports teams try and it's not that the Kings tried to force it at all. I think that's actually kind of the beauty of it. It was pretty organic and pretty natural. But usually when teams try and roll out something like that, I feel like it tends to be pretty corny, right?
Yeah.
Like if the Kings would have, like the big cowbell, it's a cool thing, like for people to ring but it's kind of corny, like they pump in the sound. Sorry to cover your kids' ears, but they plug in the sound and, stuff like that. But the beam it just worked. It's so simple, but it's also really, really cool. And everybody's embraced it.
They called their shot, man, because this was happening after the 5th game of the year.
Yes, that's also a great point. Right. It didn't have to be cool. It could have been really sad.
I think about another universe where the Kings win 30 games and the beam is lit after every single win. Yep. And can you think about how much of a meme the beam would be
more important, it would be like, wow, oh my God, we actually get to see it.
Other teams would meme it so bad.
Yeah. Oh, it's coming.
It would be a joke.
It's coming.
But they called their shot.
Yep.
And it's paid off.
It has absolutely paid off. We got a couple more topics to go through, a couple more awards to give out. We'll do that on the other side of the break. We're closing out here on Chris and Company with Brenden Nunes right here on Sacktown Sports 1140 and SacktownSports.com.
I'm Eric Armstead, and you're listening to Sacktown Sports.
Armstead with relentless pursuit, and Eric Armstead came in and sacked him.
You wanted more Niners?
Sacktown Sports.
Sacramento's new home for the 49ers.
For your everyday vehicle. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP oil filter for only $26.99. Do the complete job for the right price. Get the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Power Business Technology is proud to be 100% independent, locally owned, and managed Toshiba copier dealer. Local ownership cuts out the red tape, allowing ourselves to never be too busy to personally answer the call when our clients need us. Recognized for excellence in service execution, training, and customer service, we're proud to be named a 2022 Toshiba ProMasters Elite Dealer. Contact us today for all of your business printing needs at 844-POWER-BZ. That's 844-769-3729, or visit us at powercopiers.com.
When you take the time to shop at Folsom Lake Honda, there's one thing you'll always find: happy people ready to serve you. As a family-owned and operated dealership since 2009, customer service is our #1 priority. Our customers love doing business with us, and you will too. Get an instant cash offer for your trade at FolsomLakeHonda.com. We'll buy your car whether you buy from us or not. Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop.
Folsom Lake Honda, yeah, your one-stop Honda shop.
Chase loves soccer.
I'm Chase Greer, and I'm 12 years old.
And his dream is to turn pro. That's why Chase and his family make sure he's always having fun and squeezing out his best with Go-Go Squeeze.
Okay, buddy, let's break for a Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze fruit-on-the-go pouches are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
That's my boy!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out the best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
Great team, great team. Where's the defense? Defense! Okay, everyone take a break. Greetings, Sacramento. Doug Christie here for the Good Feet store, asking, when is something too good to be true? When it probably is. And had I not experienced it for myself, this spectacular season would definitely qualify as too good to be true. So everyone out there in radio land, continue to enjoy. Something else that could seem too good to be true is Good Feet Arch Supports. But trust me, I've experienced firsthand the comfort, balance, and support possible with Good Feet Arch Supports. And so have countless others who have pretty much given up hope. It's time you felt good again. Take your feet to the Good Feet store for free personalized arch support, fitting, and test walk. Experience for yourself the comfort, balance, and support missing in your life. The Good Feet store in Sacramento, Roseville, Stockton, Modesto, and now Vacaville, online at goodfeet.com.
Hi, guys. It's Mark with Coastside Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with ED and sick of the pills? Well, we have a major medical advancement that has helped thousands of men. Our WAVE technology is backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge University. It's been shown to increase blood flow by repairing blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us now. And not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, but we'll also include something unique that produces powerful results. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. This unprecedented offer is worth $600, but it's free to those who call in the next 2 minutes. Call 916-603-2000. That's 916-603-2000. Guys, put a stop to your ED and get your life back. Call Coastside Medical Clinic now to qualify. 916-603-2000. That's 916-603-2000.
Sitting at your desk, watch Chris and Company now. YouTube.com/SacktownSports1140.
Final segment here on Chris and Company. Company being Brenden Nunes today of the Kings Pulse podcast.
What's up? What's up?
Leading you up to Deuce and Mo at 11. They're taking you to 2 with Cattles and Rami. It's a game night tonight, so we got game night at 5:30. Kings pregame at 6:30. Tip-off at 7 in Portland. We got our guys, Frankie Cardicelli, Jason Ross, Carmichael Dave. They'll all be there for the road trip, so definitely be sure to check on out at sacktownsports.com. I know Frankie just released his Kings Portland Trailblazers preview for tonight, but definitely expect a lot of content coming out from those 3 guys over the rest of this week. I believe they come back on Saturday, so be tuned in to the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross every morning here as they will be live and local. Well, I guess not local. They will be from Portland reporting live. Let's wrap up these season awards before we get to our Blazers Kings preview ourselves. Best win of the season, I have as the nominees beating Cleveland Cavaliers twice. Cleveland's the number 4 team right now in the Eastern Conference. Kings took care of them twice. The double overtime win against the Clippers and the Kings winning big against Brooklyn on TNT earlier this season. We all remember the TNT TD night itself. Brenden, best win of the season in your opinion?
I think it's that double overtime game against the Clippers.
That is the only answer.
It's got to be, right? and the other shout I'll give, because you mentioned the 2 Cleveland games, I think specifically the one in Cleveland, where they held Cleveland to, I forget what it was late in the game, like the big stretch, but 27-15 in that fourth quarter in favor of Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Cleveland's a team that could go on and win the whole thing.
I think that's what Mike Brown is talking about playing good defense against good teams. That's probably, his credit, the only real time that I can think of where, especially in the fourth quarter, they completely shut that team down, and that's directly why they win. I completely agree. I think that's the only answer. You score 176 points in a game, you're going to win, especially considering we've talked about it before, but just the way that they did it as well was incredibly impressive. Can't have good wins without bad losses. Worst loss of the season. Kings fall flat at MSG. They shot under 40% from the field, 25% from 3. They got outscored 36-22 in that first quarter and just were never able to make up that deficit. They lost at MSG in just one of the more flat games this season. Kings lose earlier this season by 32 points to New Orleans without De'Aaron Fox. Also, I have Kings lose to the Hornets and Wizards at home in the same week. I'll go first on this one. In my opinion, when I think of the worst losses of this season, I think of that stretch of losing to the Pelicans and losing to the Wizards. It's not even necessarily the way they lost it. It kind of was the way they lost, especially that Hornets game, but it was more just that week felt so disappointing, and that was kind of like a really major roadblock for this team, where it was a moment where you kind of had to reconsider, like, oh, is this maybe not the season that we think it's going to be? But obviously they turned it around. But those 2 losses really stick out the most to me. I'm not sure if you feel the same.
Yeah, the Hornets-Wizards losses were horrible.
Yeah.
That was like...
It was just inexcusable. It was the only losses I think you would say this season where it's like there's no reason why you should have lost those.
And both those teams were missing some of their best players.
Yes.
So that was extremely frustrating. I hit a low point a little bit when they lost to Philly in Philly.
Yeah, that was all. That was part of that was the game after the Knicks game,
and then they played in Philly, and
it
was like the back-to-back happening in horrible fashion.
Yep.
Philly had 80 in that first half. They tried to put Keita.
They did on
Joel Embiid.
He picked up 3 fouls.
And I know
in
that like
2
Embiid
minutes.
might be MVP.
Yeah,
but like that was admittedly, I remember being like, oh man, because they fell to I think 14 and 12 at that point, and I was like,
quite literally trial by fire there. And then we'll go right here, most important one, most valuable King of the season, De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis. I'll even throw in Mike Brown and Monty McNair in there as well. Most important King of the season.
I hate
most
that you're making me answer
I'll say
this.
most valuable.
Fox and Sabonis, I think, are neck and neck, and I guess in a cop-out way, I went with Mike Brown.
Wow.
I think that he
just
made
like MVP,
they're
going to steal votes from each other,
exactly,
right?
right. I think that he makes everybody else better. I think the accountability that he's talked about all year has had a really big impact on those two guys specifically. So I went with Mike Brown because I think you could have picked either Fox or Domas, but I think that Mike Brown, they are better because of Mike Brown. Yeah. So that's the direction I went. But I don't think there's any wrong answer between those three.
I'm going to go with Domas just because, I mean, what De'Aaron has done this year has been incredible. This is clearly the best year of his career. It's so huge for him that he finally gets the recognition and the spotlight that he's getting right now, because I think a lot of people have just kind of downplayed what he's done throughout his career, said it's been empty stats and all that. And so it's just big for him to kind of get that spotlight. Yesterday on TNT, I heard they were talking about, who should the Warriors want to play. And it was weird to hear the other guys say, well, they got to deal with Fox and Sabonis. It was just weird to hear De'Aaron kind of get that respect from the national guys. But I'm going to go with Domas just because everything runs through him offensively. Like their offense is based off of Domantas Sabonis in that high post, making decisions, orchestrating dribble handoffs with Keegan, with Herter. He just gets not only himself going, which his numbers this season have been ridiculous with all of his triple doubles and stuff, but the fact that he's kind of, I don't want to say solely responsible, but hugely responsible for a lot of the good things we see from Keegan Murray this year, just how he's able to create space. Keegan's not great with, his own shot creation. A lot of it is just based off of running off of Domas and getting open looks off there. I just feel like he is their North Star. I feel like defensively as well, that's been talked about how much of an impact and how big of a step up he's made there. I'm just going to go with Domas just because I just feel like he's just been such a central point of all of the success of this team this season. Real quick, before we get out of here, let's preview tonight's game. Kings Blazers. Let's go through this laundry list of people out for the Blazers tonight. Jeremy Grant out, Damian Lillard out, Yusuf Nurkic out, Anthony Simons out, Justice Winslow out. Doubtful tonight, Cam Reddish and Trendon Watford as well. Kings are 13.5-point favorites according to Vegas.
Oof.
Brenden, tonight has to be the night, right?
I mean, it all depends on if Cam Reddish is playing or not.
Stop it.
I'm not even a Cam guy, I will say.
We did see Nasir Little give us 30.
No, the Kings have to win this game. I'm excited to see a one Shaedon Sharpe ridiculously athletic play, and hopefully Malik can match him. But like, this team's a joke right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry to be that blunt, but like, come on.
All
the guys they're sitting out, they're not trying to win right now.
No. And I looked it up yesterday. They are currently have the 5th best odds to win the lottery right now. They're the 5th worst record in the NBA. They're not trying to win games right now. They've shut down Damian Lillard for what seems to be the season. It feels like it's tonight or bust, and the Kings cannot fool. And there's a saying in Tennessee. I know it's in Texas. I think they do it in Tennessee too. Fool me one time, shame on you. Fool me, can't get fooled again. Okay, you cannot. How many times can the Kings get rover-doped here, and how many times can they think they're going to clinch a playoff spot? They have to take care of business themselves. 3 times a charm. 3 times is how many times it'll take here for the Kings. I've been sitting on that one for an hour.
It was on your Instagram story earlier. I saw that.
I've been sitting on that one for an hour. I definitely think the Kings need to pull this one out tonight.
If Ryan Arcidiacono is cooking them out there, I know you've talked about defensive concerns post All-Star break. If it gets close, This game should not be close.
No,
it should not be close.
It should not be. It'll be hopefully a good night tonight here in Sacramento, celebrating underneath the beam. Deuce and Mo are next, right here on Sacktown Sports 1140 and SacktownSports.com.
It's Cattles and Rami.
Come back and beat Utah on Saturday night. I was in the building.
Yes, sir.
No more Cattles curse. Get it out of